All right, great. So appreciate everyone taking the time to join today. So we got really two parts to this live event. We're going to start with the kind of Monster Bombs Battle of the La Forces. Before we get into that, though, I'll do a quick introduction, and Eric can do one as well. And then post all that, we can do the AMA. We do have a couple of questions that people submitted ahead of time, so I'll start with those, and then we can do any kind of live questions and just keep it organic as long as the conversation wants to last type of thing. So as I mentioned, my name is Keith LaForce. I'm one of the co-founders of Haste Arcade. Uh, I've been working with Dan and Joe and Eric for a while now on actually a different business. Around January of 2021 or December of 2020, Dan and Joe came to Eric and I with the idea for the Haste game and Haste Arcade. And as soon as I heard about it, I was hooked, and I just thought, man, this is definitely something I want to work on. So we started working on that really full time in June of last year. Just a little bit about me. I live here in the United States. Kind of grew up very nerdy and technical. Pretty much wanted to be a programmer since I was in high school, type of thing. And started at the time. People still read books, physical books. So I would always read game development books and try to figure it out. It was a lot harder back then for probably obvious reasons. So a lot of knowledge, but not a lot of skill is how I would have described myself. Then went to college, did that. Kind of went into the corporate world and consulting world for a while, but really excited to get back into kind of the product space and building Haste Arcade. We just have so many ideas and such a great community. I'm just really excited to be a part of it. Eric, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, so I'm Eric LaForce. As you probably noticed, Keith and I are twins. As I've been told, we sound exactly the same on the phone, so I imagine the audio and the accent sound very similar. My background's very similar to Keith's. We grew up together. What we've seen with twins a lot is twins either want their own personality, so they make a very deliberate effort to not be like each other, or they end up like Keith and I were. We're basically the same person. We have the same size family. We live right beside each other. We've worked for the same company now for the last three different companies over the last 10 years. So very, very close type of thing. So a lot of similar interests. As Keith said, game development's just always been a thing that we've been interested in. Didn't make it a full career until Haste, which has been just a ton of fun. A lot of folks on the Haste team come from a similar background of consulting on the technology side of things, and we've joked about just I don't see how we could go back right after like as much fun as we're having here with the community and the work we're doing. It's just a ton of fun. So yeah, excited to talk with everyone and answer questions and hit some bombs here.
Great. So we can get started here with the actual tournament. We have been doing some work, one of our team members specifically, around determining handicaps and things like that for people and really trying to determine a line to be able to compare head to head against players. That's just kind of a sneak peek of some stuff we've got coming up as well. So the line between Eric and I and Monster Bombs right now is negative 15 to Eric. For those not familiar with that like terminology or those the way we talk about it, that means on average Eric will score about 15 more points than me per game. So in order for us to kind of create competitiveness, I get a little bit of a leg up. So we'll add 15 to my score, and that will be the number that we actually use to compare against his. We're going to play just best of three. So we're each going to play three matches, alternating back and forth. And whoever has the highest score is going to be declared the winner.
And we may have some money on the line.
Yes, we do not promote gambling yet. No, just kidding. So let me share my screen here and we'll get started. Feel free to chat and make fun of me while we're playing. No No decorum required.
Well,
So how does
I see
betting
some.
work when you two share a bank account?
I was gonna say I see some high rollers in the chat. I think some side bets should definitely be encouraged. So we got Foundry with minus 15. I think I'm gonna take. I got Rally on this one.
Yeah, I got Raeleon too.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll put 5 cents on that.
Going against the home dog.
It's hard to bet against Rallion considering he built the game.
Yeah, I got my money on Foundry for this one.
Ooh.
Wow, single, good start.
All right, that's how you hit a change up, Joe.
That would
Yeah, that was.
I would have totally missed it.
That's
Those of
sweatshirt.
you watching, if there were more collectibles added, like if you could change the bat or you could change other stuff, what would you guys want to see?
Lightsaber.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yes, lightsaber.
I got those 2 bombs right in a row.
A lot of different bets like hockey sticks, golf clubs, stuff like that. Very
Oh,
fun.
that's, yeah, that's a good idea. Ooh.
All right.
I've ever hit a bomb.
Rallion, what are you doing?
What about scenery change?
We're gonna switch over to Eric here.
What was that score?
So I bet on Foundrium, right? I think that's what I recall. That was, yeah, that's what it is.
All right, I got a 28. I'm gonna keep track off screen here. Well, I'll add 15 to it to make it at least somewhat respectable.
I think scenery different could be interesting.
So you want to hit the ball. That's what you're trying to do.
Thank God.
We spend a lot of time working and not playing, guys. Promise.
You guys love the bombs. Wow.
So I think I bet on Raeleon, if I remember correctly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Wow.
I think Foundry did too. He's actually like throwing that game. Pathetic.
Oh, but it's best of 3. So you have
It is
to work
best of 3.
Of
yourselves.
course.
You got to work it.
Gotta dog my handicap.
This is why we have so many bugs at a high score level, huh?
He had to work out those butterflies.
Ooh.
Okay.
Nice.
Good job, brother. You're doing really well.
So Wags, are either of these two getting offers from any MLB teams anytime soon?
Yeah, not looking so hot at the moment.
Maybe the Pittsburgh Pirates, like they're really terrible.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to see some fire. I want to see a monster bomb.
Just gotta hit it.
Ooh!
There it is.
Let's go.
I love that. It's so satisfying.
It's good hitting.
Ooh.
Last leg.
Those fastballs that turn into a bomb are seriously tough. You have like just a split second to realize it's a bomb and then not swing.
There's a little tip that I've learned. Pitch count doesn't change if it's a bomb. So if you can adjust your eyes, you can notice that it's a bomb.
Ooh,
Good shit.
Wow.
great piece of advice.
Yeah, but it depends on your screen if you can actually look at both the ball when it's coming and the pitch count.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Yeah,
a
that's
bug to me.
Advice.
Oh, he's
Oh
on
my God.
fire.
Oh my God.
It's on fire.
Yes,
Oh,
fire.
this could be the winning score right here.
Now it's gonna be a bomb and he's gonna
He's
hit
got to
it.
swing and miss. Oh, bombs.
Can we help out?
You gonna pitch hit for me?
The bomb.
I need some.
Not a bomb.
Boom!
Look at this, 107. That's respectable.
I love how locked in he is. He's just
Not.
Wow.
It's too distracting to talk.
Keith, your posture
fastball.
not good.
No, God.
Yeah.
All right.
That's gonna be tough to do.
Ooh,
And
that's really great.
All right. Yeah, I was like literally trying to be as close to the screen as possible.
yeah, like if you get yourself a friend to spot you, he can just or she can just watch the score change, and if it's a bomb, like they can tell you this is a bomb, and you don't have to swing. But I'm alone all the time, so I don't have any friends. Cheat.
I'm definitely not gonna help Eric out.
Damn.
Ooh, Eric.
Shade.
Who's older of the two of you?
Eric is older by 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
That's why he's got.
Wow.
Not good. This is not good.
Rally on, looking good.
Whoever built the line algorithm should probably be fired, is my
Yeah,
professional
That's what I'm
opinion.
thinking.
Yeah, Hong Kong might be gone soon.
Yeah, screw that guy. He's an idiot. To be clear, it was me who built the scoring algorithm, and now I'm thinking of ways I can. Clearly, it's missing something.
Rally on going with the no sound approach. Interesting.
Oh God.
Something happened to the stream.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we missed the.
I just forgot to unmute it.
Such a satisfying sound.
What was his score, Ian, before?
If I remember correctly, 122.
Yeah, so it's 137 with my handicap.
Damn.
It's doable. I've seen way higher scores.
I think this just shows like when the lights are on, Keith shows up.
Ooh.
There's some guys that can't turn it on when the lights come on, but
Yeah, that's me.
I mean, look at this guy's focus. He's completely locked in.
yeah, someone get a screenshot of his face.
I've never seen Keith this focused.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Just in
That's
the
how
score.
you should look when you play this game.
God, that's so satisfying.
Ooh.
Change up.
That's only strike one. Wow.
Yeah. Right.
Hey,
Keith definitely built some type of like backdoor rally on his.
I'm not even playing right now.
The URL.
This is pre-recorded video.
Practicing his
Although
smoldering.
level 4 is when it starts to get hard.
I don't think I've ever been on level 4. I didn't realize it got that fast.
Very fast. You got 1 second to react.
that was a good swing.
He just really wants to get off this fucking planet.
Nice.
Should be a green one now. Oh my god.
Oh,
Let's go. Pour it on. Pour it on.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is amazing.
Holy fuck.
Damn it.
30
Like,
pitches.
The hitting.
Damn.
The picture
Ooh.
the picture captured in the chat looks exactly like the live feed.
He hasn't moved in the last
get.
4 minutes. Man.
Another green one.
Wow.
Look at this.
It goes fast.
Can we get
He did
the
it.
15 now?
Ooh.
All right.
Dang, that was good.
Put a round of
Ah,
applause for
that's
that was solid.
Good.
that was sweet.
Wags, I hear a nice.
All right. Good luck, Eric.
No, we ain't got Ryan in here.
Oh, that was you. Eric,
Alright.
he's our man. Can't do it. He owes us money.
Come on.
We just gotta be
Let's
focused.
go.
We just gotta focus.
I think next time we do one of these, instead of this being on the practice level, it should be on the high roller.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That's a good idea.
Tell us first so we can play on that.
Yeah, all of us get on that leaderboard first. All right, Eric, only 165 more to go.
Don't forget the line, too.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 180.
This is the start.
Good take.
It's funny how much slower the ball looks. Like, if you get really far or watch someone else get really far, like when you start over, it's like jarring.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Nice.
You have to actually hit the next one, though.
Come on.
You jinxed him.
That was devastating.
That was a big blow.
Just keep having good at bats. Yeah. Oh.
Hey.
He's gonna give me the yips.
Good take.
I don't really have to do anything. You're just gonna mess up yourself. Just like high school all over again.
Ooh.
To be clear, you missed 2 monster bombs. That's 30-point swing.
Devastating.
I'm just gonna do 3 points at a time so it's more devastating.
Oh. Keith's got a button over there pushing.
All right. Well, at least it was better than your, 7 that you got on the first round.
I was going up. I'm going up the scale there.
Yeah, you're trending up. All right. So the final scores are, let's see, 43 for Keith. This is with handicap. So 43 for Keith, a devastating 7 for Eric.
Oh my gosh.
Then the next one was 137 for Keith, 20 for Eric on the round 2. And then what was your score on the last one there?
78.
78. Okay.
Right,
So
like the
my
play.
final best score was 190. Now let's just do the math here real quick. You said 78. 78 plus 7 is 85, plus 20 is 105. So my second score beat all of your other scores combined.
Congratulations, Keith. I'm really proud of you.
All right. right. So that was great. All right. So Eric will be doing my yard work for the next month or so. And then so now we're gonna switch over to the AMA. Technically, I've scheduled about 40 minutes. We can definitely stay longer if people want to keep chatting, whatever people want to do. Just to kind of kick things off here, we've got some questions that people asked ahead of time. So I'll start with those, and then for folks that are live on the stream, feel free to ask any questions as well. And then if you're just watching the recording later, definitely feel free to hit us up on Discord or Twitter if you have more questions and you want to hear a response. So the first question asked was, will there be a possible NFT PFP from Take It for Haste Arcade? I'm not 100% sure of the exact meaning of this question. The way I'm interpreting this is, if we sell NFTs on Take It, will there be an integration to utilize those as your PFP for Haste Arcade? I will definitely say that is a really good idea, and one that people have talked about in the past. It's on our roadmap, but that doesn't mean it's going to get done next month. I mean, the way we think about roadmaps and how we work is kind of a traditional product approach for those familiar with the space and how software gets built, which is ultimately we have a few strategic goals, and everything we do is focus on those strategic goals. So any features that we build, any activities that we do, it's all geared toward those strategic goals, and it's about doing the smallest amount to achieve those goals, because we have a small team, and so we have to prioritize accordingly. And we prioritize constantly. I mean, we're meeting once, twice a week to look at everything we have on our plate, looking at what's the next big thing for us, and ultimately what's going to have the most impact, both for the community, but then for Haste, the organization, as well, in order to achieve those goals. Any kind of follow-up questions to that or anything like that before I move on to the next one? All right, great. So the next question is, I know a lot of stuff is going on that we don't know about, but what's coming with with BBG? Anything big coming? Joe, I'm actually going to hand this one off to you. I know you've been working with them the most closely, so I figure you can kind of give a response to this question.
Yeah, so BBG, if you guys aren't familiar with them, they are an esports organization, is how they basically describe themselves. And that's a handful of things. They've got actual professional gamers and streamers that they have on like different teams like Valorant or Call of Duty. And they'll go on Twitch, they'll live stream their gameplays, in games like Fortnite also. But they're more of like a lifestyle brand. So other stuff they'll do is like they have their own channels as well that's just like the Built by Gamers brand, where they'll just do anything related to the gaming world. TikTok they're really big on. Instagram, Twitter, not quite as much, but definitely like the Twitch and TikTok scene. And in essence, what we've been doing and what they've actually been putting together, and this is actually if you follow them in Discord right now, is they've created like a section of their Discord with challenges where you're going to be able to get BBG type rewards, so a BBG hoodie or something like that, for basically posting certain scores in Haste Arcade on specific games. So like an example would be, you can go to their Discord right now, you can go under like their different tasks, and you have like legendary tasks, and if you see those, there's like score more than 50 on jump, or score more than 55 on monster bombs, or more than 1,000 on tiger run. And if you go and you do that and you beat that score, you're basically leveling up within their Discord, and you have the potential to earn some of those rewards. So what they've been doing recently, and specifically, this idea for them kind of came about because of monster bombs, is they've set up these tasks, and then they're going to be posting, TikTok videos that are getting 1 million plus views, promoting these types of things. So, fun content, things that people enjoy watching, these silly little 15 to 30-second videos. But the real core point of it is directing people to their Discord and to these legendary tasks where, basically any game that we're going to be releasing from now on will get added to that. So it's kind of like a score bounty that you'll be able to earn rewards for. So that's what they've been focused on, at least as it relates to Haste Arcade. And I think, I think it's number one, really cool that they're doing it. Number two, stuff that we're going to also start incorporating, as we get further down the road as well.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Joe. That was a great answer. And yeah, we love the BBG crew. They've always been supportive of us from day one, and have really been a great partner for us. We love bouncing ideas around with them as well. I just saw the picture of me like really focused. I look not great. Um, all right, so this next question is, and this next one's a really big topic for us, and it's probably the biggest question that we talk about constantly. It's how are the plans to make leaderboards fair based on score caps coming along? So this question comes from Brucey, for those familiar with him in the Discord. And it's been a conversation, like I said, that we talk about a lot. Eric, I'll let you run with this one, and Dan, if you want to layer some stuff in as well, feel free to.
I'm sorry, Keith. I was looking at this Discord thing. What was this question?
It was just what are the plans to make leaderboards fair based on score caps?
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, no, Rex, I see you. If you could go on mute, that would be helpful.
Rect, if you can mute yourself, my man.
I got it. There we go.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Keith. Yeah, so in terms of leaderboards and are they the fairness of them, there's a lot to that question. It's something we've thought about since the beginning. I actually remember having a conversation with Wags and with Jackson Lasky from Asset Layer, aka Nifty Jigs, probably back in February of last year, and that was actually one of the things he had questioned was just this what we just refer to as the power law problem, which how do you handle situations where you're going to have gamers who are just really really good, right? And like they're always going to be on top, and there's like that top 1% of players type of thing. So how do you deal with that? So it's something we've thought about for a long time. We've tried a few different things like party mode just to kind of gauge how those things work. In our mind, it is one of the most important challenges we have to solve as we look at going truly mainstream, right? That along with how do you easily get money into the arcade are probably two of the big things we need from a mainstream perspective for this to be really really successful. So yeah, it's a top priority for us as we've highlighted in a few different threads. And in terms of what we're doing, we're looking at a few different options. I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail in terms of some of the solutions just yet because we're still exploring those solutions. But one interesting thing that we've started doing, specifically Keith, is we've actually created a simulation model where we can run the entire list of plays since the beginning of beta through a simulation against a different model than the current standard ILP model. And so what that allows us to do is to test some of these ideas against historicals to determine the potential success of these different types of solutions. And so we spent some time in the last couple of weeks getting that built out. We've run a few different simulations on some different ideas just to see. We're exploring things that are different than the standard ILP sort of scoring as it stands right now. We're really interested in progression and what that looks like. So I got a lot of things we want to look at on how to improve it, and I definitely think we're going to solve it in terms of the quote unquote power law problem. At its core, and then I'll let Wax jump in too, but at its core, what we want to do is we want to build different ways for people to engage and play in the style that they're most interested in. Some people really want progression, some people want to be really competitive, other people just want to be really casual and just play arcade retro games for fun type of thing. So you just want to make sure we meet folks in those different spots and just attract a really wide audience.
Eric, I think you hit on pretty much everything. I mean, I would just echo what we're hearing from the community, and that's that you know, there are certain challenges in the arcade. We're very aware of them. I mean, the one that stands out to me right now is sort of, you know, not only are there, you know, you want to be incentivized to play, right? Like we want to create new ways for people to engage, and there are some instances in the arcade right now where there's actually a disincentive to engage. Meaning, you know, once you post a high score on a particular board, you're not really incentivized to continue to compete in that division. So obviously, from an engagement perspective, and from a, you know, we want the arcade to be a fun social place that people come and hang out and interact and do all these different things. Like, that's obviously a problem. So we are very much aware of that. As Eric and Keith have both mentioned, it's our highest priority to fix those things. But we don't want to we don't want to jump to conclusions too fast and just change things like on a whim. You know, because there are people that have submitted high scores and things like that in the existing system. And so, you know, we're just trying to be as creative as we can about how we're approaching this, and taking things that, you know, have been proven out over a long time in other types of games. And as Eric mentioned, you know, or Foundrium, you know, progression, I think, is a key to solving some of these problems. And so, we're very focused on, you know, that in general, not just for games specifically, but just for the arcade in general. So I'm super stoked about some of these changes that are coming, both from a mechanics perspective and how things are actually, you know, scored and things like that, as well as some of the new features, and we'll call it like modes of play. And these are things that are just around the corner. These aren't things that, you know, are 6 months from now type of thing. These are things that are, you know, just around the corner. We're excited to get them out.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Eric. I'll actually pause here because that is a really big topic. So if you have a question about that specific topic, or something that just sparked a thought for you or an idea, definitely feel free to speak up here before I move on to the next question. All right, great. So the next question is, would you consider running some beta bug testing before releasing the games into the arcade? It can be public or closed for player card owners, and may be paid per bug discovered in HST tokens. I'll actually answer this question. You know, I end up building a decent bit of the games, although that's changing here shortly, as we're going to focus on getting more and more games out into the arcade. But the root of this question is, you know, what is the process that you follow? And then, yeah, there are obviously bugs in the game, and you can go to any game and find bugs in any of them. I'll take a minute just to explain our process, and maybe more generically software in general. Software is a very complicated thing, and for those of you in the space and have built things before, you know, you certainly have a deep understanding of this. Or I mentioned earlier that, you know, I started getting really into programming when I was in high school, and Eric and I's dad is also a computer programmer. And one of the things he said to me when I started learning, that I still think about every time I see a bug or find a bug, is he said, computers are dumb. He said computers will do exactly what you tell them to do. They can't do more and they can't do less than exactly what you tell them to do. The problem is they do exactly what you tell them to do. So a lot of times we create bugs by telling them to do the wrong thing. And very, very small changes in a piece of code can have very large impacts in areas that you don't anticipate, because it's hard for the human brain to really encompass all the various states and things like that. That's why when we're building software, we really focus on trying to keep the code as simple as possible, so that we can make sure we're not introducing bugs. Game development is definitely the same as, you know, traditional maybe web applications, which I have more familiarity with when building software. So these games, you know, we do a lot of testing internally. So the typical process for us is, I work with Float and the rest of the team very closely during the game development process. We do a lot of play testing where like I'll push a build out. The team will kind of jump on the game and start playing, and they'll give feedback. And we'll do that 10, 12 times, before we actually end up launching a game. If you're interested, I'll show you the original video for Monster Bombs in that first iteration, because it's laughable to see like it compared to what it is today to what it was, after the very first build, type of thing. But anyway, we go through that process. Then traditionally what we have done is, like, when we feel the game is ready, we will give it to the player card holders, and they'll actually see the game first, and they will give their own feedback. Rainey in particular has been very good about identifying bugs and sending them our way. Part of that is because he's good at getting to higher scores that frankly I can't even get to sometimes. So he can find bugs that I wouldn't find in my normal testing because I just don't see it. He's also plays it 1,000 times. Like he will go play a game, 500 times, over a week, and it's hard for me to get that kind of time into it. So he's been extremely helpful in finding bugs for games. Now, Monster Bombs, we didn't do that way because it was such a big event, and we didn't want people to get like an unfair advantage because we were having the tournament and things like that with all the gear and things like that. So that one in particular, we did internal testing on. But then, things change. Like we go fix bugs that are reported, that causes new bugs, things like that. So that's kind of how that process works in general. And none of that's to say like we're making excuses that bugs are okay. Bugs are not okay. We do our best to find bugs, and we try to fix them as quickly as possible. As far as bounties are concerned and paying per bug, that's something we're very interested in. It's not something we intend to do in the very short term, simply because we're still young enough and in a position, and we've got such a great community. Like we're pushing stuff out quickly, but as we get more mature and stability starts to become extremely important when you get into the mainstream user base. When you have 100,000, 200,000 players, stability will become a lot more important for us as a priority. At that point, then it's much more likely we have an official program where we reward people for finding bugs and ultimately reporting them. So that was a really long-winded answer. Eric, anything to add to that?
No, I think that makes sense. We've had similar questions on things like from a security perspective. So some of you probably know, especially if you're in the pen testing space, a lot of big companies have, bug bounty programs, and it's more focused on security and trying to identify breaches and things like that before kind of a 0-day event. That's something, for example, yeah, I would say in the medium term, we're going to be interested in setting up, just because at the end of the day, that helps everybody, right? It helps continue to add stability and security to the system. We're humans. We're going to make mistakes, and so just getting more eyes on things is always helpful. So yeah, definitely medium long term, bug bounties, security type programs. We're going to be interested in setting up.
Great, appreciate that. All right, so we got one more question from the kind of initial question list that was submitted. Dan, I'm actually going to let you take this last one, and then I see Vanquish asked one in the chat as well. So the question is, can creatives come to you with game ideas? So Dan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was an idea that we had very early on, and I think that it's definitely something that we still want to explore. I mean, we are always open to hearing any amount of, whether it's feedback, ideas, etc. And we're young and nimble enough as a company at this point to, if we hear a good idea, our roadmaps, as Keith pointed out earlier, we are reprioritizing and prioritizing all the time. And so I think I don't know. Do we know who that question came from, or if they're in the audience here? Or
I think it's an anonymous question list, but I don't
see.
know if they're in the audience today or not.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if there was a way to be, I guess, more specific about the question. I think the question is like, from a can we bring creatives? I mean, it either has to be like from a game perspective, like literally, can we bring in an idea for a game, or it would be like, you know, can we help submit NFTs or in-game collectibles and things like that? And the answer is absolutely yes. And we're already actually doing that with some other creators. We would love to have the ability in the future to be able to make that sort of like self-service, where you could just come in and we basically provide the tools to help you create an in-app game. Not an in-app game, but a like in-game collectible. In terms of, you know, actually building or creating a game, obviously building a game is much more involved, and it takes a lot more time and dedication, etc. So, you know, maybe in the future we can actually have some tools that enable that type of thing as well. But I would say in general, to answer the question, we are interested in hearing from other creatives and working with people that have cool ideas for how we can continue to add content to the arcade, but then also grow.
Yeah, and that's definitely how I interpreted that question, Dan, as well as like, yeah, create from a creative perspective. People have game ideas, but they also have ideas for collectibles. You know, we've got a good kind of artist audience in the arcade as well, and you know, people want to submit collectibles and things like that. It's more manual effort than it is automated right now, but we're always open to it. Now we will constantly tell you, like, we have to prioritize based on, again, those high level strategic goals. And if we look at where the Haste Arcade is today, we're extremely proud of what we've built, and we're extremely happy with the community that we have. Our primary objective at this point is to get more players. You know, we have approximately 10,000 players that have signed up for the arcade today. About 1,000 of those are active every month. You know, people play for a few weeks and they stop for a few weeks and they play for a few weeks. So that number is always kind of gonna the active number is always going to be less than the total count. But our number one priority is that. So everything we do is focused on that goal. So one of the big objectives we have right now is really getting more content into the arcade. You know, the arcade itself is a pretty robust product. There's a good bit we can do, as Eric mentioned, about making it easier for people to get money into the arcade. That's definitely a barrier for mainstream users. And we've tried a few different things on that. We've got new ideas we're going to be trying over the next few months. But you know, I want my mom to be able to come to the arcade and play. She's not familiar with BSV. She's not familiar with Bitcoin. So you know, asking her to figure out exchanges and those kind of things, it's too much to ask her to. It's too much of a leap. She'd come to the arcade, she'd sign up, but she'd never play beyond practice in the way it works today. Now we've got a lot of great support from the community. You know, I'll mention Hand Cash specifically here. Their top up feature makes this problem a lot easier. Like, I can go to Hand Cash, I can top up with a credit card, etc. We need to guide people there today, so we're going to continue to work with Hand Cash and build out, you know, features within the arcade to make that even easier. Because again, the for us, the ideal journey of a user or a player is come to the arcade, sign in with a Google or Twitter or make your account, start playing a few practice rounds immediately. And then from there, once you feel comfortable, it's okay. And now I want to start playing competitively. I really just want to be able to swipe a credit card or do Apple Pay, and ultimately get funds into the arcade and start playing. That's the level of commitment and level of experience that we need in the arcade for it to really be a viral idea. And that's stuff we're constantly working on. The other thing is game content, and I'm kind of going in a really roundabout way to get back to this original question, but the other is game content. You know, we need good games. So there's some really fun games in the arcade today, and there's some that are not as fun. Now, every player has different perspectives on that. There's going to be like I really like Lost as a game. It was really fun to build. But there's going to be some people that don't want to play that. They don't want a space shooter type of game. They want a puzzle game. We don't have any puzzle games really. Well, if you exclude the chess puzzles, but like more generic type of puzzle games, there's going to be a lot of players that want to play that casually, but they don't have that opportunity today. So we have a game list that we're going through and ultimately going to be building over the next 6 months to try to really beef up the content in the arcade itself. So when we talk about creatives and their game ideas, we would love to hear people's game ideas, but we still have to fit it into that priority list of like if someone said, I want to build Call of Duty on the arcade, can you guys make that happen? Well, that's great. We'd love to be able to do that, but that's a 6-month project to even make the most basic, Call of Duty style game, which means we might not be able to get other content out there that we want to see sooner, type of thing. So that's just how all that kind of fits together. But again, not to we absolutely want to talk to people in the community, hear the ideas. I know Can, I think, had submitted an idea the other day around this minor style game. So we took a look at that. It looks really fun. We added it into the roadmap, and we'll start prioritizing that based on our other game needs as well. All right. I'm going to try to go through these questions on the sidebar real quick. So the first question was from Vanquish was, which came first for you guys, coding games or BSV? Eric, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So, as Keith mentioned earlier, Dan and Wags and Joe, this was like their original idea was the Haste game, tap a dot very quickly, leaderboard payouts, a way to show the power of micropayments ultimately in a really fun and engaging way. So they've been in the BSV space for a long time. For the rest of the Haste Arcade team, this is all new to us. Bowser's done a really good job of getting pretty deep into some of the technical aspects specific to BSV and things like run, those kinds of things. I've done, a little bit of that as well, and the rest of the teams has sort of varying degrees of experience. But yet, at its core, frankly, we're much more focused on the product side and the app side of things than we are on the specifically to the BSV space, right? Like we view blockchain and BSV specifically, frankly, is more like the plumbing, right? Like those are the things we need to do to be able to enable our product vision and to create these really engaging experiences for folks. So we just, and that's frankly, yeah, we're coming from a totally different background, typically than a lot of the folks it seems like within this community. The next question from Can, yeah, will there be any games released like Duradogs where you can obtain a chest with a chance of NFT? We are actually working on a similar idea right now. I don't think Keith, I think it's okay. Like we're actively working on it. We plan to release it in the next couple of weeks. Specifically, we're going to start with Jump and with Monster Bombs to have. It's not quite the same idea as Duro Dogs, but it is a very similar concept. So yes, we are planning to release that. And then El Nino, being serious as always, it'll be on Coinbase. I'd probably say in 2025 or maybe right before they go out of business.
That might be my favorite answer.
Great. So we've got a little bit more time here. Any additional questions from folks? So Can just posted another one here. How are you marketing Haste Arcade? Because I found it by searching Google for crypto gambling websites, which isn't Haste style. So yeah, that's a really good question. Joe, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So we've had some trouble with like our original strategy, and if you've heard us on podcasts before, like one of the things that we wanted to do as this actually became like a real company and there was some money raised was like, if you think about when the last time you saw a company, not an exchange or an NFT drop, like being promoted on Instagram, like you're scrolling through Instagram and you see like a paid ad for an actual company in the blockchain space. And like to us, we didn't really think that we had seen anything like that yet, other than, like a Coinbase ad. So our initial assumption was, okay, we should run, targeted paid ads just like this was a non-crypto company, and let's target the mainstream gamers, right? Like there's over 2 billion people that identify themselves as casual gamers. Sure, we love the crypto community, but let's see if we can get people outside of that, some of this 2 billion people, and see if we can get them interested in this concept. So what we've done, and it's kind of twofold, with we've had the paid ads, but like I said, that's been tricky just because with gaming, with cryptocurrency, there's a whole bunch of different verifications you have to go through on Google, on Instagram, on Twitter. And we've actually had our ads like get taken down multiple times. Like we haven't been able to run Google ads for about almost 2 months now, and that was really like a huge driver when we first started getting those up there. And it's just for a bunch of like very strange and kind of interesting reasons that I would imagine most companies who are doing paid social ads don't have to even consider. So those strategies do work though when we run them. And like a stat I'll throw out there is, a typical casual game when they're running their social ads, they're paying on average anywhere from like 21 to 25 cents per click, and then it's costing them, multiple dollars to convert users. Well, we're getting clicks, at least, when these ads are up, at about 3 to 4 cents. So, percentage wise, that's significantly lower than what the traditional casual game is. And so we think that's a really cool sign that, like, hey, when these ads are being run, like people are interested in this concept. It's new, it's something they haven't really seen before, and like the interest levels are definitely there. So that's definitely going to continue to be like one of the main driving forces as we get these ads, kind of doing the dance with Twitter and Google and all that, and get them back up and running. And then the other part would be doing things like what we're doing with BBG, with other esports organizations, with influencers. And we haven't done a whole lot of that yet. Most of these influencers, it does cost a decent amount of money to work with them, or you got to have a pretty big user base to get them interested. But BBG has been really cool in the sense that like they give us, honest feedback on the different types of things that they've done, that their streamers have said. And just, they do have a great network as well. They're getting about 30 million views across all their different, social applications and all the different content they put out on a monthly basis. So those are really the two main ways right now that we're focused on getting people into the arcade, getting new gamers. It's going to be those paid ads. It's going to be, working with the esports organizations. But something else, would be key would be referrals. And we do have a pretty cool referral program. I don't know if we've done a whole lot to actually promote that yet to the new users that come into the arcade. So they might not know that they can be earning, a decent percentage from other people that they bring in as well. But I think as you get more and more people in the arcade and people start to understand these types of things, that should also start to increase as well. So, nothing better than your friend telling you about something instead of just having to see an ad for it. So those would be the three main ways I would imagine the next 6 to 12 months we're going to continue to try and scale and get more and more people in the arcade.
Yeah, I think that's really informative, Joe. And yeah, I think as we've talked a lot about this over the last year, we have visions of what we want to do. If we look at where we are today, where we want to be, you know, we really focus on the arcade. We want Haste as a company. We see us having a lot of products. We've got Haste Arcade, we've got Take It right now. I can see, in 5 years, 10 years, like us having a wide variety of products. But for today, Haste Arcade is certainly our biggest and the one we're the most focused on. And we want to be a gaming company. That is where we are primarily focused. We want to bring back the nostalgia of playing at an arcade, all of the social components that come with it, the fun that comes with it, and really just, at least, in the beginning, make hyper casual gaming really fun. I don't know how many of you know this, but there's huge churn in the industry. Many people, developers, and companies put a lot of effort into building mobile hyper casual games, but people will play them for an hour or a day and then they're done. So they have to put a lot of funds into their marketing engines just to get new people in the door, and like it's this just constant churn of people, and you have to keep spending dollars that you're not getting an ROI on. And we want to change that for developers. We want developers and people building these games, and ultimately the players, to really get a lot of enjoyment out of it. That's where, we put a lot of thought into like building progressive based concepts where there are reasons for you to come back and play a game, even if the game is simple, like tapping a dog. All right, I'm just looking at the thread over here. Rect gave 5 years of his life to Halo. I'm sorry about that. NBA Jam, I would love. That's another thing that's really interesting for people that just aren't familiar with the space, and there's nothing wrong with that. Which is, people ask us, yeah, why can't you put Tetris in the arcade? Tetris is a great game. There's a lot of legal components to that, and that's ultimately like if you see us shy away from something like Tetris, it's really around legal implications, not necessarily the difficulty of building a game. Great. Any other questions from folks? Yeah, Ken, the mining game is definitely on the roadmap. It looks like a lot of fun. And those are the kind of games that we love as well for the arcade. Is just creating these really fun, engaging games. Retro is just a big topic, certainly for people. Like I said, there's just a lot of retro gamers out there as well. Float, were you trying to say something, or was that just a click?
Oh, sorry. No, I wasn't.
Okay, great. For those who haven't seen her in Discord, Float is our designer, moral
Slash
moral
get
compass.
everything done.
Yeah, she's definitely a very key member of the team and does a lot. So we're really excited to have her on the team. Thoth, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, can games legally pay NFT holders? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that.
There's probably a couple of different ways for that. One might be in an airdrop type scenario where we take some of the revenue from, say, a game and pay out to any, say, NFT holders, whether that was a player card holder or maybe a specific NFT drop we did. We've definitely contemplated doing that, and that's something we're considering. Legally, I think it's fine, right? Like I don't see any issue with that. There is some rules within the United States where, for example, if you pay someone over $600, you have to file certain types of forms and things like that. So there's things we have to account for from a compliance perspective. I know Kurt dropped a link about KYC and what VX Pass is doing in terms of those types of things. It's a similar thing, just lots of compliance rules in different countries and things like that. We're early enough, and frankly, we're just not big enough where we're going to attract a ton of notice just yet. But we are trying to be as buttoned up as possible when it comes to legal and compliance, just because we do know we want to grow and we don't want to be dealing with those issues later when we could have dealt with it sooner, type of thing. So that's something we're very sort of keen on, is trying to make sure that's true. Like we stay in compliance, basically.
Great. I see another question here from Brecht. What are the plans for HST? Dan, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Is that from someone in the chat? Sorry, I don't actually see that.
Oh yeah, it's from Rect. It says just what are the plans for HST?
Oh, I see. Is there a specific question or like around it, or just like plans in general, Rect? You can feel free to unmute and ask if not, I can totally give the generic answer. I mean, the plans for HST are very simple. We want to continue to add give as much utility as we can to it, whether that's, I don't know if there's any like big things that you can just do in one blow, but it's going to, every time we come out with a new feature or a new product, we're going to continue to think like, how can we incorporate HST into that product and continue to give it as much utility as we possibly can. We've even, and I certainly don't want to put any weight on this whatsoever, but just to be transparent about some of the things that we've talked about, you know, and again, take this with a grain of salt, not saying that we do this, but we've discussed what does it look like if you used if HST was the in-game currency as an example. Like I said, not saying that we're going to do that, but we are constantly talking about different ways and things that we can do with HST to give it as much utility as we possibly can for the arcade. We certainly see it. I guess the easiest way of answering it as continuing to be a very important play a very important role in the arcade now and as we move forward.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to do a last question here from Thoth, and then we can kind of sign off here. So we got, can Take It NFTs be used in future games? So one of the things that excited me most about BSV, and I didn't know much about crypto or Bitcoin pre 2021. But one of the things that most excited me and still excites me about BSV is the conversations that people have. It's very focused on utility. What value can we provide? The reason that excites me is because it aligns very well with just my personal ethos around software and product in general, which is we're going to build what users find valuable. If they don't find it valuable, then there's no point in building it. So those two concepts are very in sync. And I look at the answer to that question as that, which is, can Take It NFTs be used in future games? Of course, but we have to create that utility. We have to create the value for people. You know, obviously the Tree of Power is a big drop that happened recently on Take It. Definitely one of the most exciting drops as far as just pure content is concerned that we've had. I would give almost anything to build a Tree of Power game with him. Like that would just be super fun. I would love to do that. How can we make that happen? Goes back to the priority question. Like to build a game that really, you know, represents that content well would just take a lot of time. If you read his story, you can see, you know, he had started out with like 3D versions of it, eventually switched to the 2D illustrations just because of a time component as well. I would look at the game the same way. Like as much as Keith personally would love to build that, you know, it's probably not a great move for Haste, you know, in the month of October 2022. Type of thing, but there's always utility we can create and things like that, and we absolutely want integrations between Take It and our, you know, other products in the Haste ecosystem, specifically the arcade. All right, great. So we're gonna wrap it up here for today. I do see a couple other questions that came in. Feel free to just ask them again in Discord, either in the general channel or one of the other appropriate channels, and we're happy to answer that asynchronously. Really appreciate everyone's time. It was a lot of fun to talk to everyone and hear the questions, and it was certainly a lot of fun to destroy Eric at Monster Bombs.
Yeah.
We got a good Keith screenshot out of it, so I think it was worth it.
Yeah, turned into a meme. Like
whether it's AMAs or just kind of getting together. I'm just curious, just very quickly as we sign off here, maybe just put a thumbs up in the chat if you think we should try and do this type of thing on some sort of normal cadence. Maybe it's once a month or, you know, something like that, just so that we can kind of keep people in the loop and up to date with what we have going on internally, and be able to ask as many questions as you can and us be as transparent as we possibly can. I do think that's an important thing. Just kind of signing off here is, you know, in the crypto world, we've seen so much scam. We've seen so much just like, you know, people hiding behind the covers. Like we have no reason to hide. Like we want to be as transparent as we possibly can about everything that we're doing because we want to build a big company. And so if things like this are helpful to the community, we're more than happy to do it. But we obviously want to be mindful, you know, of our time and what we're obviously wanting to build. So I think scoping that to either, you know, once a month or something like that, if you find it helpful, I think that we'd be willing to do it. It looks like we got a number of hands up and thumbs up, so that looks good.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks everybody, and we'll definitely be around on Discord if you have more questions, and talk to everybody soon. Bye, everybody.
Guys, bye.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.